It began with the shatter of porcelain and the sharp gasp of a waiter collapsing under a tray of wine glasses. The heavy scent of garlic, wine, and truffle oil turned sour as it mixed with the tension in the air. A silver fork clinked to the ground like a gunshot. And standing in the middle of it all, quiet, still, and underdressed, was Keanu Reeves. He wore a threadbare olive-green army coat, a beanie half falling off his long, unbrushed hair, boots caked in sidewalk grit, and jeans ripped not by design, but by time. He looked like someone who wandered off a train platform with nowhere else to go. The maitre d', a tall, narrow-faced man with contempt hanging off his cheekbones, stormed toward him with the fury of a wounded peacock. "Sir," he hissed, his voice wrapped in faux silk but sharp as glass. "This establishment has a dress code." Keanu raised his hand slowly, palms up, like he didn't want trouble. "I'm just here for the carbonara. Been craving it all day." A table of socialites giggled behind their champagne flutes. One of them pointed at Keanu, her manicured finger hovering like a dagger. "Security," the maitre d' barked, snapping his fingers. Two men appeared, thick-necked, stiff-suited, the type that didn't ask twice. One grabbed Keanu by the elbow. "Sir, you're gonna have to leave." "I can pay," Keanu said gently. "You don't know me, but—" "You're right," the maitre d' snapped. "We don't. And we don't let your kind walk in and stink up the air." Silence fell. Even the piano player's hands froze mid-chord. Keanu didn't resist. He didn't protest. He just nodded once, slow, deliberate. But as he turned toward the door, he glanced over his shoulder and said softly, "Tell Jacques the homeless guy came back." The maitre d' scoffed. "Jacques doesn't deal with riffraff." "Oh," Keanu said, already walking into the cold night. "He will." Outside, the neon sign buzzed overhead. Maison de Minuet, an exclusive $800 plate culinary fortress in the heart of Beverly Hills. A fortress that had just made the single most expensive mistake of its existence. 3 hours later, the doors of Maison de Minuet flew open like a scene from a movie, because it might as well have been one. This time, there was no army coat, no beanie, no boots that looked like they survived a war. Keanu Reeves walked in dressed in a tailored black suit, the fabric so smooth it looked like it had been whispered into existence. A crisp white shirt, shoes that didn't make a sound, hair tied back, face clean-shaven, jaw sharp, an expression unreadable. The maitre d' smile faltered as if someone had reached into his chest and pinched his spine. This time, Keanu didn't wait to be greeted. He walked straight past the host's stand, past the gasping diners, through the murmuring of shocked recognition, and into the heart of the restaurant. The same waiter who had spilled the wine earlier actually dropped his tray again, this time from awe. "Wait, wait, wait, sir," the maitre d' sputtered, stumbling after him. "You can't just—" "I can," Keanu said without slowing down. "And I am." That's when Jacques stepped out from the kitchen. The Jacques Lafontaine, the Michelin-starred executive chef. The culinary wizard who made foie gras taste like poetry and risotto weep with flavor. He wore a black apron, a smear of saffron on his wrist, and the look of a man who just saw a ghost and remembered it owed him everything. "Keanu," Jacques said. Keanu turned, offered a tiny bow. "Jacques." They embraced like old friends do when time has passed, but trust never faded. Gasps rippled through the restaurant. A woman dropped her glass of rose. A guy Googled Keanu Reeves' best friend chef. "I tried to come earlier," Keanu said. "Your staff threw me out." Jacques' eyes narrowed. "Who?" Keanu tilted his head toward the maitre d'. "Him." The maitre d' tried to smile, but it came out like a dying battery. "Mr. Lafontaine," he stammered. "I didn't know. I mean, he looked—" "Like what?" Keanu asked, voice low and cool. "Like someone who doesn't deserve food." The room was ice. Jacques slowly untied his apron, walked up to the maitre d' and said calmly, "You're done here. Get out." "But—" Jacques pointed to the door. Half the restaurant applauded. The maitre d' stormed off, red-faced and shaking. Jacques turned to Keanu. "Dinner." Keanu smiled. "Let's eat. Then we talk about who else needs to go." Jacques led Keanu through the staff hallway into a hidden dining nook, private, dimly lit, surrounded by wine bottles older than the restaurant itself. No menus were needed. Jacques cooked like he was composing a letter, each dish telling a story, each flavor delivering a truth. Keanu sat silently, his fingers drumming the mahogany table. "You know," Jacques said from the open kitchen window, flipping something golden in a pan. "I always said, the first person to underestimate you would regret it." Keanu cracked a grin. They regretted it before dessert. Moments later, Jacques placed a dish in front of him. Black truffle pasta. The same one Keanu had asked for earlier, the one the maitre d' wouldn't let him order. Steam curled into the air like a crown. As Keanu twirled the first bite onto his fork, Jacques leaned against the counter. "Want to tell me what happened?" "I came in looking like myself," Keanu said between bites. "And they treated me like trash." "Yeah." Jacques' voice was calm, but the flame beneath his skillet flared. "I was judged for my coat, my boots, and because I didn't announce who I was." He didn't see a man. He saw what he assumed was a nobody. Keanu put down his fork. "That's not what this place is supposed to be." Jacques nodded, then walked to the kitchen intercom and clicked it on. "Staff meeting. Now." Minutes later, the hallway buzzed with nervous energy. The waitstaff, the bartenders, the sous chefs all filed in, curious and tense. The air was thick with the scent of olive oil and the weight of uncertainty. Keanu stood. Some recognized him and went pale. Others didn't, but felt the gravity. Jacques stepped up beside him and cleared his throat. "This restaurant was built on two things, passion and respect," he said. "Tonight, we forgot one." He pointed at the crowd. "If you judge someone based on their shoes, their jacket, or their hair, leave." A few glances darted. A waiter shifted uncomfortably. A bartender looked at her feet. "I'll give you 30 seconds, Keanu added, "or we'll decide for you." The silence was deafening. Then one waiter, a man who had laughed earlier at Keanu's removal, dropped his apron and walked out without a word. Another followed. Then a third. By the time the clock hit 30, 6 employees had been fired or fired themselves. Jacques turned to Keanu, rubbing his hands together like a man ready to build from the ashes. "We start over," he said. "No ego, no elitism, just food and people." Keanu looked back at him and nodded. "Let's make it a place that feeds more than appetites." The air in the kitchen was still heavy even after the exodus. It wasn't just about the firings, it was the realization that somewhere along the line, Maison de Minuit had stopped being a dream and turned into a machine. Cold, expensive, beautiful, but hollow. Jacques was silent, scrubbing his hands at the sink, though they were already clean. Keanu leaned against the counter, watching everyone who remained. "You know," Keanu said softly, "you don't need stars to know if food is good. You can taste when it was made with heart." A murmur of agreement rippled through the staff still standing. Some looked ashamed. Others just nodded. Then, from the back of the room, someone stepped forward. It was Ava, the youngest line cook on the team. Barely 22. Quiet. Always the first one in, last to leave. No one had ever heard her speak above a whisper. But now, her voice came clear. "I need to say something." The kitchen froze. She looked at Keanu, her fingers twitching nervously, and then at Jacques. "I saw him get kicked out tonight," she said. "I was on prep, watching from the back hall. I wanted to say something, but I didn't." Jacques moved to speak, but Ava held up her hand, gently, but firmly. "And this isn't just about him," she continued. "It's about all the times we've turned people away. People who didn't look rich enough, didn't dress the part. Families who walked in, wide-eyed and hopeful, only to be told we were fully booked when we had open tables." Ava's voice cracked, and she looked down. "My mom used to clean hotel rooms to afford one dinner out a year. She saved for 6 months to take me to a nice restaurant when I graduated high school. The maitre d' at that place turned her away because her shoes weren't the right kind." She paused, eyes brimming. "And I just let the same thing happen here." No one moved. Even the burners seemed to hold their fire. Keanu stepped forward, his tone soft. "Ava." She looked up. "You just said the realest thing anyone's said in this kitchen since it opened." Jacques placed a hand on her shoulder. "You stay. And from now on, you help build the culture. The soul. You up for that?" She wiped her eyes and nodded. "I've got a few ideas." The team broke into a quiet round of applause. Not loud. Not performative. Just real. Raw. Keanu turned to the remaining staff and said, "This place used to serve food that made people feel seen. Remember that. We don't just cook, we connect." Outside, the reservation book still showed VIPs for tomorrow. But inside, something had changed. The real service had just begun. The next night, the chandeliers sparkled above a fully booked dining room. News of the incident hadn't leaked yet, but whispers buzzed under the surface. Something had shifted at Maison de Minuit. The air smelled less like arrogance and more like anticipation. Keanu and Jacques sat at the edge of the dining room in their usual booth. No VIP rope, no special lighting. Just two friends watching their house come back to life. That's when he walked in. A man in a double-breasted cobalt suit, alligator shoes, and the kind of gold watch that could pay for college. Vincent Hale, tech billionaire. Regular guest. Owner of 7 companies, 2 yachts, and 0 patients. He never made reservations, he expected a table. Tonight, he arrived with a small entourage, a bored supermodel, a personal videographer, and a PA carrying a barking Pomeranian in a designer sling. Hostess Ava, now promoted, "Thank you very much," greeted them with a polite nod. "Mr. Hale," she said. "Welcome. Do you have a reservation?" Vincent blinked. "Do I need one?" Ava didn't flinch. "Tonight, yes." One of his friends chuckled. "She's serious?" Vincent stepped forward, towering over her. "Young lady, I've spent more in a month here than you've made in your career. Now move." Ava glanced at Jacques, who simply nodded. And just like that, Keanu rose from the booth and approached with a smile that could chill boiling stock. "Vincent," he said warmly. "You look expensive." Vincent's smirk wavered. "Keanu, good to see you. I assume there's a table for us." "There isn't," Keanu said calmly. Silence. "Excuse me?" Vincent asked, voice dropping into that entitled gravel so many rich men mastered. Keanu shrugged. "Tonight's service is for people who respect the room, the food, and the staff." The model giggled nervously. "Wait, is this part of, like, a new performance dining thing?" "Nope," Keanu replied. "It's just manners." Vincent looked around, expecting someone to jump in and apologize. No one did. "You'll regret this," he growled. "I could buy this place." Keanu stepped closer. "You'd ruin it." Jacques emerged from the kitchen wiping his hands on a towel. "Vincent, please don't cause a scene. It'll be awkward when your little dog ends up trending on Yelp." Vincent's face flushed crimson. He turned sharply and stormed out, entourage stumbling after him. As the door swung shut, the dining room erupted into quiet, delighted applause. 3 nights later, the city's food elite crept in like shadows. They didn't wear name tags, but everyone knew who they were. Harper Wells from Gastronome Weekly, famous for making or breaking a restaurant with one scathing metaphor. Leo Brandt from the Fork and Flame blog, a man who wore tweed indoors and once described a steak as a midlife crisis on a plate. And worst of all, Nadine Voss, former chef turned venomous pen. She hadn't given a perfect score in 5 years. Her smile was as sharp as the knife she'd once wielded. They didn't make reservations. They made statements. Ava noticed them immediately. Instead of panicking, she sent word to Jacques. He didn't flinch, just grinned and cracked his knuckles. "Time to dance," he said. Keanu was already seated at the back, sipping espresso, watching like a general before a battle. "Let's feed Imsol," he murmured. As the critics sat, they exchanged knowing looks. "Nadine, let's see if the rumors are true. I heard the place has been restructured." Harper, "I heard Keanu himself kicked out Vincent Hale." Leo, "I heard the maitre d' is selling crypto now." They chuckled, poised to feast or destroy. First course, roasted beet salad with whipped goat cheese and a ginger vinaigrette. They tasted, paused, looked at each other. "Balanced," Harper muttered, almost unwillingly. Second course, saffron risotto with seared scallops and a drizzle of blood orange reduction. "Damn," Leo whispered. Third course, duck confit over sweet potato mash, topped with crispy sage. Nadine cut into it like she wanted to hate it. She couldn't. She set her fork down. Her eyes scanned the room and landed on Keanu. He raised his cup to her. She nodded back. Then, Jacques emerged carrying the final dish himself, a humble, golden slice of warm apple tart, paired with a scoop of bourbon vanilla ice cream. Nadine took one bite and froze. No theatrics. No sarcasm. Just stillness. "This tastes like my grandmother's kitchen," she whispered. Jacques blinked. "It was your grandmother's kitchen." She looked up, stunned. Keanu stepped forward. "We found your first cookbook. Your memoir. Page 43. Jacques recreated the recipe. Tears welled up, completely uninvited. "I haven't had this flavor in 20 years. Leo raised a brow. "You okay, Nadine?" She wiped her eyes. "I was ready to destroy this place, but they served me a memory." Harper folded her notebook closed without writing a single negative line. "This isn't just a restaurant anymore," she said. "It's a rebellion. Against ego. Against flash. Against soulless luxury. A single, grainy video posted by a busboy named Jonah. He had taken it the night Keanu kicked out Vincent Hale, just a quick clip meant for friends. 20 seconds long. Blurry. Shaky. But it had everything. Keanu in that tailored black suit. Vincent Hale sputtering threats. And that final mic drop moment. You could buy this place. You'd ruin it. By sunrise, it had 8.2 million views. By noon, it was a hashtag. Hashtag Keanu serves justice. Hashtag Maison Reeves. Hashtag the humble revolution. Within 24 hours, Maison de Minuit was the most searched restaurant on earth. Food influencers descended like locusts with ring lights. TikTokers lined up outside in outfits louder than their phones. Even tourists with no reservations just stood near the entrance to feel the vibe. And suddenly, Keanu Reeves was trending. Again, reporters swarmed. Journalists begged for quotes. Paparazzi camped across the street trying to snap Keanu cleaning a wine glass or, God forbid, smiling while seasoning lamb. But Keanu? He just kept showing up. Same time. Same black t-shirt. Same apron. He took out trash. He folded napkins. He sliced bread. Quietly. Until one night, Ava came rushing to the kitchen, phone in hand. "Keanu," she said, breathless, "you need to see this." It was an exclusive segment on the feed, one of the most watched online news platforms in the country. The headline? Hollywood's kindest man just revolutionized fine dining. The host gushed. In a world of velvet ropes and six-figure tabs, Keanu Reeves just walked into the most elite restaurant in LA, got kicked out for dressing like a nobody, and fired half the staff after revealing he was the co-owner. He didn't cancel anyone. He recalibrated the entire culture. Clips played, Jacques cooking, Ava leading the floor, guests crying over apple tart. Then the host said it. And that's the kind of leadership the world needs right now. Quiet, purposeful, unapologetically human. The staff in the kitchen stared at Keanu. He blinked. "I don't want a movement." Jacques smirked. Too late. Outside, the line now wrapped around the block. Not just for food, but for what the place represented. Kindness, redemption, substance over surface. Maison de Minuit wasn't just back. It was leading a culinary uprising. Every table was full. The wait list stretched into next month. Celebrities came not to be seen, but to feel something real. Donations to local food banks surged after Keanu quietly matched every reservation with a meal for the unhoused. But not everything was shining under the surface. One rainy morning, Keanu arrived early. Earlier than usual. No cameras. No guests. Just him, the coffee machine, and the sound of rain tapping the glass. He wandered into Jacques' office, thinking to leave him a note. But something caught his eye. The books. They were open. The numbers wrong. Too wrong. Receipts didn't match inventory. Monthly reports were missing for 3 weeks straight. Large purchases from vendors that didn't exist. Consulting fees paid to someone named R. Cazzero, a name Keanu didn't recognize. And then, in the drawer, under a stack of invoices, a black envelope. Inside, a signed non-disclosure agreement. Jacques' signature, and the name of a silent investor, Richard Cazzero. Keanu's heart dropped. Richard Cazzero, an old acquaintance, a slick, silver-tongued fixer who had once tried to buy Keanu's script rights for pennies and threatened to bury his career when Keanu refused. A man known for gutting businesses and flipping them for sport. And now, somehow, tied to Maison de Minuit. Keanu picked up the phone, called Jacques. No answer. Called again. Nothing. He grabbed his coat and rushed into the rain, boots slapping the pavement. He found Jacques not at home, but in the back alley behind the restaurant, hunched over a cigarette. Eyes heavy. "You knew," Keanu said. Jacques looked up. Didn't speak. "You signed with him, Jacques. After all we built. I had no choice." Jacques snapped. "The expansion, remember? The second location? We were drowning. I thought I could control him, just long enough to get us through." Keanu shook his head. "You didn't just gamble with a restaurant. You gambled with everything this place means." Jacques dropped the cigarette. Crushed it. Rain hissed against the embers. "I didn't tell you because I knew you'd burn it down. I was trying to protect it, us." Keanu stepped back, fists clenched. "There's only one way to protect it now." He looked Jacques dead in the eye. "We cut him out. Tonight."